here we are. Happy Lonely Friday, everybody. Happy Lonely Friday. I hope everybody's doing great. Welcome to the loneliest talk show anywhere that you'll find on the internet. Sam Roberts now, here, live from the Not Sam studio. If you want to know that we're live, if you need proof that we're live, then go ahead and interact with the show. I already see you in the chat arguing about Scream movies. Yes, this is what I want to talk about. Scream 2 was the best of them all. They wanted to film the original Scream at my high school. Conversation's already starting. This is the point. If you have a piece of the conversation that you feel like needs to be addressed live on the show, super chat it in. Every super chat gets read. Make sure you like. Make sure you hit subscribe. And trust me, I understand. I would love to do a whole show tonight on Antonio Brown. But I feel like, number one, I've been watching Scream movies the last 3 days to prepare for this. And number two, I feel like we've still barely scratched the surface on that story. So maybe by Wednesday, we'll be able to dig our claws into that. Because tonight, folks, we go back to something that has become a staple of Sam Roberts Now. Maybe a departure from the typical, pop culture sort of recap and review of what's going on, but an important and key part of what we do here, and that is the horror movie franchise recap. Now, we will sometimes go outside the horror genre, I suppose, but that doesn't matter tonight because we're staying within the horror genre. We are 7 days away at the time of this show being projected onto you live from Scream 5, which they're just calling Scream. I think that's because they don't want people to feel like they're going to the fifth installment of a movie. I can't think of one movie where the fifth is the best one. Like the fourth sequel, the fifth movie is one of those where they usually don't stop at 5. And if they do, it's because it got really, really bad. Movies that go beyond 5, they don't really get good again until towards the end of the cycle. Like, you can maybe start to get good, like 8, 9, maybe 10. Like, then it's like, okay, new people came on board. It's been long enough. They refreshed the whole thing. So I think that Scream doesn't want the stigma of the fifth movie being attached to it, but it is. It's the fifth movie in this series of films. Tonight, there will be no spoilers. Obviously, I have not seen Scream 5. I know almost nothing about Scream 5. When I see it, I'm going to go into it blind. But I think that even those of us going into it blind deserve to know the history of this franchise, of which we're going to see the fifth installment of. And so tonight, we'll be going through Scream 1 through 4 and telling the story of this series of tragedies that has repeatedly hit this town of Woodsboro for basically as long as most of us can remember. Not Sam Lehman chiming in with a super chat. I was doing a Scream rewatch for the new movie and was surprised by how much I liked 2. Okay, we'll talk about that. Dino, hello, Sam. What's your favorite scary movie? Scream. I'm going to tell you right now. The reason this is an important thing to do, and the reason this is an important conversation to have, is because the Scream franchise of horror movies is about as important to the horror genre as any franchise is to any genre of films. People don't really remember because since Scream, the horror genre has been able to maintain. We've gone through different stages in horror. I think in the early 2000s or mid 2000s even, you started to get more of the gore porn stuff. You started to get more of the Saw movies, the Hostel movies, stuff like that. But that was able to carry the horror genre through to the point where there's never been a time since 1996 where we've gone, horror movies, nobody watches horror movies. Even after that sort of gore porn thing became super popular, the ghost movies became super popular. The James Wan movies, I mean, I guess he did Saw, so he's just been capitalizing on this for 15 years. But, the Conjuring movies, the Insidious movies, the creepy, all those movies, that became a popular thing in horror. But pre-1996, pre-Scream, there wasn't a popular genre in horror. What had happened was horror was something that had been around since the beginning of film. It's always been a fairly inexpensive way to get people into a theater most of the time without needing a big star or a huge sort of action stunt budget. You know, you can get by on the scares. The Universal monster movies are as old as any of us can possibly remember. The Frankensteins, the Draculas, all that stuff. But in the late 70s and early 80s, the slasher movie became popular. And that took this whole thing to another level. That brought us to a place where we really had to spend no money. We could get everybody in the film acting for the first time. So an entire cast that we could just pay scale. And as long as you had this movie monster in it, that you could actually put a different stunt guy in the suit every movie. You know, there's been many Jason Voorhees. There's been many Michael Myers. The mistake they made with Freddy Krueger is that he had to talk and have an expressive face. So it's like, if Robert Englund's not there, we're not watching. But beyond that, throw whoever behind the hockey mask and we'll be good. As long as he's big and lumbering, we can make a buck. And that's what it became. And I feel like the people who made these movies, even with Freddy, where they had to get the same actor back, I don't know that he was doing much besides Freddy Krueger movies, so he was going to come back no matter how many sequels they made. And eventually, they took advantage of the fact that they could do that. And they realized they don't even need to hire writers anymore. They don't even need to make good movies anymore. As long as this monster is in it, people are going to go see it. As long as there's gore in it, as long as there's blood in it, people are going to go see it. Throw some titties in there for a bonus, and people will buy tickets. And they took advantage of the genre, and they beat the genre down to the point where by the time you got into the early to mid-90s, you were just having sequels of movies that had come out 10-plus years earlier, and nothing new. And a generation was quite frankly aging out of going to see these movies. The generation that had come up watching Halloween and Friday the 13th and Nightmare on Elm Street, they were aging out of seeing this same thing retrod over and over again. And this new generation that was coming up, becoming horror fans, starting to, the high school kids, middle school kids, they were sitting there going like, I don't know if I want to see Friday the 13th Part 10, Jason Goes to Space, when I wasn't even born for the first Friday the 13th. So the horror genre had completely fallen apart. There was nothing smart. There was nothing fun. There was nothing new. And this movie, Scream, comes along and changes everything. Scream acknowledged. It was really the first horror movie that acknowledged other horror movies within it. Aside from like the cheeky little thing here and there. I don't mean the fact that, like, for instance, in Halloween 3, Season of the Witch, there was an acknowledgement that the movie Halloween existed. They were going to watch the movie Halloween. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that the tropes that we, the audience, are all so aware of. Anybody who was the age of the actors in horror movies had now grown up with these horror movies, and we're all aware of the tropes. Scream was the first movie where the actors' characters on screen are acknowledging the tropes that we are paying tickets to see in the film. Very meta, very not done before on this scale, and pulled off to perfection. The first Scream movie, it's not a surprise that, in my opinion, it saved the genre. Because Scream 1 is a perfect movie. When you go back and watch it, yeah, it's a little obvious who the killer is. It's kind of, but we've also seen, like, what's your favorite scary movie? That's become a thing. Everybody knows it now. When this came out, not everybody knew it. Blair Witch, for example. Blair Witch is like a amazing gimmick when it first comes out, right? But it's not a perfect movie. Like, are you really going to go back and watch Blair Witch 100 times? Or is it going to be one of those things that in the moment, it's really cool? Scream is a perfect movie. I was going back and watching this thing. I watched it 2 days ago. And I was like, that's when I first realized. I knew it was great. But it was 2 days ago that I was rewatching this movie from 1996 with Skeet Ulrich running around like he was somebody. And I'm going, this is like a perfect movie. The people who made this thing must have looked at it and gone, holy shit, look what we did. Look what we made. And they said it couldn't be done. Scream is interesting because the thing about Scream is it's similar to those other movies that I was talking about, the Friday the 13th, the Nightmare on Elm Streets, because you have this iconic killer that you can sell a costume for and you can sell action figures of, and everybody knows Ghostface, right? But Ghostface isn't the killer. The killer changes in every movie. He just wears the same mask, or they just wear the same mask. So it's not like that personality has to translate throughout the movies. The voice stays the same, but they established in the first movie they were using a voice changer. So let's talk about the first movie. Let's talk about Scream 1, came out in 1996. And this has, again, become kind of a trope and was a callback to Alfred Hitchcock's movie Psycho, but at the time surprised a lot of people. Drew Barrymore starts this thing. She's on the poster. And what's brilliant about the poster is you can't see her sweater, right? So she's not wearing the same outfit necessarily. It looks like she's wearing a black shirt. Hypothetically, she's just cut off at the neck. Who knows? But it doesn't look like a screen grab from the first scene of the movie. There's nothing about this poster that would tell you Drew Barrymore is only in this movie for one scene. And when you look at it, Courtney Cox was kind of on the come up with Friends. The biggest thing Nev Campbell had done before this was Party of Five. Fabulous show. But, not exactly a household name on the level of Drew Barrymore. Drew Barrymore had been around since E.T., for God's sake. And what do? They kill off the biggest star in the movie in the first scene. Again, this is something that happened in the movie Psycho. The shower scene happens very early in the movie, and people were, mind blown, because the whole marketing of the movie was around this blonde in the shower. And then they get there, and 10 minutes into the thing, the blonde is dead, and it's like, what movie are we seeing now? So people show up to watch Scream. They're watching Drew Barrymore. She answers the phone. Do you like scary movies? Drew Barrymore's like, hell yeah, I like scary movies. I'm going to watch a scary movie right now, as a matter of fact. She puts the Jiffy Pop on the stove. Jiffy Pop is very important in this scene because it adds that tension, right? Because first, it's that popping. It's the popping of the popcorn on the stove as she's on the phone with this guy. And you're like, what's going on? Who's got the popping going on? There's all this stuff happening. Then the Jiffy Pop starts smoking. Then the smoke alarm, it's on fire. The smoke alarm is going off. Drew Barrymore's not worried about that because she's freaked out about this guy on the phone. But while she's getting chased by a killer who's on the phone asking her horror movie trivia, the fire alarm's going off. There's smoke going. It's so stressful. So Drew's on the phone with the killer. She doesn't think he's a real killer. She thinks he's a prankster. And this hasn't been done before in Woodsboro. And she goes, well, I have a boyfriend. He's on the football team. He'll kick your ass. And then the lights come on outside. Turn on the porch light. She turns on the outside lights. And her boyfriend, Steve, is out there, duct taped and tied up to a chair. She's like, what the fuck is going on now? Steve got his ass kicked and got duct taped up to a chair. And now this guy's on the phone with me. So what happens? He says, favorite scary movie? She goes, whatever, Friday the 13th. He goes, okay, I'll ask you a question about Friday the 13th. You get it right, you're good. You get it wrong, you're going to die. She goes, okay. He goes, who's the villain in Friday the 13th? People love this question. Ever since this movie came out, this is the go-to horror question. If you ever meet a horror fan that, this is their idea of a great trivia question, they're not a real horror fan. They're a big-time poser. Because, number one, everybody knows this. And number two, everybody's seen this scene in Scream. So they know it, at least from Scream. But he goes, who's the villain in Friday the 13th? Jason Voorhees. No, that's wrong. I'm sorry. Yes, it was. I've seen it 100 times. Yes, it was. Wrong. If you'd seen it 100 times, you'd know it was Pamela Voorhees, Jason's mom. She's crying. She realizes she's fucked. Lights go out. Steve gets killed. He's dead. Ghostface is now in Drew Barrymore's house. Drew Barrymore escapes to the outside. She sees her parents are driving home. They left her home alone. They're driving home. She goes, okay, I think I'm saved. I can see my parents driving up that cornfield right now. As she's looking, boom, stabbed in the back, stabbed in the back, stabbed in the back. Her parents open the door. As they're opening the door, Drew Barrymore's trying to get their attention, except she got stabbed in her lungs, so she can't talk so good. Her family, her dad tells her mom, her dad hears Drew on the other line on the phone. He picks up the phone to call 911, but Drew's still on it. Labored breathing, might be COVID. And so he sends his wife out. Go to the neighbor's house. His wife opens the door. Ah! There's your first scream, although I think Drew Barrymore screams, but that's the real big first scream in the movie. Drew Barrymore is hanging from a tree, gutted like a fish. Drew Barrymore is dead. Steve is dead, and we're about to start this movie Scream. Holy shit. Unbelievable. So the town of Woodsboro is coming to terms with the fact that Casey, that's Drew Barrymore's character's name, and Steve have died. Nev Campbell, we see. Sydney Prescott goes to school. It's swarmed with reporters. Swarmed. Sydney is there with her boyfriend. Now, Billy Loomis, we met the night before. Billy Loomis had snuck into Sydney's window. You see Billy, played by Skeet Ulrich. That cutie pie right there. Billy Loomis is getting a little frustrated with Sydney. Let me tell you something about Billy Loomis. For a guy this good looking, he is the fucking biggest nerd you've ever seen in your life. This guy will not stop with the movie references all movie. It's like you can't have a social disorder and be that good looking. It's crazy. But he's sitting there going, Sydney, we used to have a solid PG-13 relationship on our way to, an R-rated relationship on our way to an NC-17, and now things have slowed down, and Bob, he wants to have sex with her. She won't have sex with him. But, she's like, Billy, come on. See, a year before this, 1 year, almost to the day, not even quite a year, Sydney's mom was brutally murdered. Sydney's mother had been murdered less than a year before. And so Sydney is just kind of getting over this. The grief process can be a long one. It's a high school girl. Her mom got murdered. I know Billy Loomis is as cute as it gets, but she's not ready to have sex with him yet. What are you going to do? Makes out with him a little bit on the bed, sends him on his way, flashes him one quick titty. We don't see it. Billy gets to see it, and he leaves, right? Sydney's dad is going away for a couple of days on business. Sydney is going to man the house. Okay, so Sydney and Billy Loomis, they go to high school there in Woodsboro. And when they get there, the high school is full of reporters. We see Sid is there with Tatum, played by Rose McGowan. Tatum is dating Stu, who's friends with Billy. So you've got Sydney Prescott and Billy Loomis dating. Then you've got Stu and Tatum dating. And then their nerdy friend Randy just hangs out with them all the time. Randy's a big-time cuck. Very much in love with Sydney, but he just watches Billy Loomis make out with her all the time. It's pathetic. But they all get to school together, and the press is everywhere. There's all kinds of news reporters, and they're talking about the murder that's happened, this brutal, terrible murder that's happened to their classmates just the night before. And one of the reporters there is Gail Weathers. Now, Sydney's trying to keep her distance from Gail Weathers because Gail Weathers reported on the murder of Sydney's mother, Maureen Prescott. See, Sydney had recently gone to court and testified against this person named Cotton Weary. Cotton Weary, who Sydney believes raped and killed her mother. Now, Gail Weathers says that did not happen. The testifying happened, but she says that Cotton Weary is innocent, that he was misidentified by Sydney, and so she is really pushing that narrative forward. She's writing a book about the Maureen Prescott murder and really advocating for Cotton Weary, but at the same time, calling Sydney, the daughter of this murdered woman, a liar. So there's a lot of tension going on between the two of them. That night, Sydney gets a Ghostface call. We were introduced to the Ghostface call with Drew Barrymore. Sydney gets a Ghostface call. She takes a nap. She goes home. She takes a nap. She's going to go over to Tatum's house so she doesn't have to stay in her house alone. But while she's waiting for Tatum, she gets the call from Ghostface. She's freaked out. Ghostface shows up at the house, starts attacking Sydney. Sydney's pretty good. She's running away. She's shutting doors on the arm and everything. Ghostface is a little clumsy. He's real excited about what he's doing. He falls over chairs and whatnot. He's like a rubber man, though. He gets up quick. He ends up getting slammed around a bunch, but he gets up quick. And eventually, he disappears when Billy Loomis shows up. Again, Billy Loomis shows up through the window, and Sydney calls 911 on her computer. I didn't even know you could do that in 96. It looked pretty cool. But she did it. Ghostface disappears. Billy Loomis shows up. Sydney's like, what the hell is going on here? When Billy gets into her room, a cell phone falls out of his pocket. She's like, you gotta be fucking kidding me with this shit. He's like, what? What? She's like, that killer was just calling me on a phone. He's like, so? This is 96. Not everybody has a phone. He's like, big deal. And you can't just pull up like last call on the phone. It takes like 24 hours to get your records and everything. So Deputy Dewey shows up, which is Tatum's brother, Tatum, Sydney's friend, and arrests, or at least takes in, Billy Loomis. Billy's like, Sydney, you know me, come on. He's very offended. But Sydney's like, no, I really think it was Billy. Billy, like, he's sexually frustrated. One of the reasons he's so cute is because he's like dark and brooding. So, all things considered, he's sexually frustrated. He makes a ton of bad movie references, and he's dark and brooding, and he's got a cell phone in his pocket. The killer who's just chasing me around my house called me on a cell phone right before he was chasing me around my house. Just take Billy Loomis away. I'm done with him. I'm done. So they take him away. But there's no evidence. Billy keeps saying, hey, I'm trying to tell you. No. Tatum shows up. Gail Weathers is the first reporter on the scene. So you're sitting there going like, okay, yes, Billy Loomis had a phone on him. But Deputy Dewey, who's Tatum's brother, showed up first on the scene very quickly. Tatum showed up late, very conveniently, from when she was supposed to pick up Sydney. And Gail Weathers is the first reporter on the scene, and she's already got a grudge with Sydney. What is going on here? There's a lot to unpack here. There's a lot to take in. Sydney goes to the police station. She answers the questions and everything. Tatum is like, I'm going to take Sydney away. Tatum's brother, Deputy Dewey, he's a police officer. He goes, you can't take her away. We need her. Sydney's like, shut up, Deputy Dewey. You suck. Dewey's like, my mom told you not to talk to me like that. She's like, shut up, Dewey. And so the chief tells Dewey to take them both out the back. So he takes them out the back. Gail Weathers, she's the only reporter. This is why she's good. She's the only reporter that's smart enough to go like, hey, where's the back door in this place? She goes to the back door. She finds Sidney Prescott there. Sidney's like, no, I'll talk to Gail Weathers. She goes, Gail, congratulations on the book. She's like, oh, thanks. She goes, I didn't read it. Gail goes, don't worry, I'll send you one. Boom. Punches Gail Weathers right in her goddamn face. Sidney Prescott punches Gail Weathers in the goddamn face. It's very, very satisfying. They go over to Tatum's house, and that's where Sydney spends the night. But there is a ghost face call that gets made to Tatum's house. This is very important. We get a ghost face call made to Tatum's house while Billy Loomis is locked up in questioning. Now we know. Oh, we fucked up. Oh, Billy didn't do anything. Then we find out that the calls were coming from Sydney's dad's cell phone. And Sydney's dad has not been located. He didn't show up to the place that he was going to. He's gone. And this guy whose wife was theoretically raped and murdered, definitely murdered, a year ago, who apparently was a philanderer, was cheating on him. Maybe he's lost it. Maybe he's nuts. We don't know where he is, but these calls, they say, were coming from his phone. So a curfew goes into effect in Woodsboro because they're trying to figure out what's going on. And Stu goes, this is a great reason to throw a party. Henry Winkler plays the principal of the high school. He's getting fed up because these high school kids are very immature about the whole thing. They're running around in ghost face costumes. They're celebrating like there's a whole to-do going on. He's pissed. A couple of kids are running around in ghost face masks. He catches them. He expels them. He's finished. Somebody dressed up as Ghostface was chasing Sydney in the school. We don't know if it was the real Ghostface or if it was just a prank. Lots of pranks going on. But Henry Winkler, the principal, he expels the kids that are pranking. You know what happens to him next? Ghostface comes to the school and kills the goddamn principal. You son of a bitch. You killed the Fonz. Ghostface kills Principal Fonz. There was even a moment in the movie where he fixed his hair in the mirror. And I go, that is Arthur Fonzarelli. Then he died. He got stabbed to death. It was very, very sad. So they're getting ready for the party, right? Randy, of course, is a big, he's the cuck dork who loves Sydney and just watches her make out with Billy Loomis, who's also a film dork, but he's like a good-looking film dork. It's okay. So Randy is in the horror movie section of the video store that he works at, the Blockbuster that he works at, and he's explaining to Stu the rules of horror movies and that they apply to what's going on in Woodsboro. and who the suspects are and everything. And then he's talking about how he definitely thinks that Billy Loomis is the killer. Billy Loomis is it. Billy Loomis is it. So Billy Loomis hears him talking that Randy shit. That movie dork, I want your girlfriend, but I can't have her because I'm in the friend zone. Movie store bullshit. Randy's talking about that on Billy. So Billy gets right in his face. He goes, how do we know you're not the killer? If I'm obsessed with movies and that gives me a motive, you're obsessed with movies. You're the killer. Randy's like, okay, fine. Neither of us are the killer. You win, Billy. Now go have sex with the girl of my dreams. Billy says, all right, that's exactly what I'll do. Because they all decide to get together and they go to a party at Stu's house that night, even though there's curfew. They all get in the house and Deputy Dewey stands guard. Deputy Dewey's got Sidney's back. He's standing guard. Now, Gail Weathers hears about this party. Gail Weathers is a great reporter. She and her camera guy go to this party, and Gail starts flirting with Deputy Dewey. And you can't tell. At first, you're like, she's definitely just playing him. But then you're like, I don't know. She seems like she might be actually a little bit attracted to him. It's pretty interesting. But she goes in, and he brings her in with him. And Tatum's like, Dewey, what the fuck are you doing? This is the reporter that Sidney punched out because she's calling Sidney a liar about Sidney's mom's murderer. And Dewey's like, yeah, but I don't know. She said she wanted to come. And while all this is going on, Gail slides a camera into the party so she can watch what's going on. Just in case something happens, she can get that footage. There's a 30-second delay on it, which her camera guy is not thrilled about. But she sneaks it in, and they can watch on 30-second delay the live feed back from Gail's news van. Very, very exciting. So all this is going on at the party. Tatum's like, who wants a beer? Tatum goes and gets the beers. And while she's going out and getting the beers, she gets her head smashed in the garage. Ghostface comes and kills Tatum. It's a terrible, sad thing. Sidney no longer has a best friend because her head got crushed in the garage. Now, most garage doors will probably stop. There are sensors and everything on them. But I wasn't installing garage doors in 1996. So I don't know. Maybe in 96, a garage could crush a skull. Now, I hit the garage door sensor with my ankle one day, and I had to call the garage door repairman and try to figure something out because the lasers were messed up. My garage door wouldn't shut. But back in 96, I guess it could crush a skull. I don't know. Point is, Tatum's dead. Tatum is no longer with us, all because of this goddamn Ghostface. So while all this is going on, Sidney feels real bad. She feels really bad for making it seem like Billy was trying to kill her. And Billy's like, I was trying to love you, Sidney. I wasn't trying to kill you. I was trying to love you. So Sidney goes, okay, let me love you. And she has some sex with Billy Loomis upstairs at the party. We don't see it, obviously. We don't see it. There's no nudity in any of these movies, actually. But it is made very, very clear. Sidney goes and loses her flower to this Billy Loomis character, which Randy, I'm sure, couldn't have been thrilled with. So while all this is going Randy is explaining like horror movie rules to the people at the party. Never say, I'll be right back. Then, of course, Stu says, I'll be right back. It's all starting to build. It's all starting to build to a head. Ghostface finds Sidney upstairs. He sneaks into the party, finds Sidney, goes upstairs. Billy Loomis is in there. He goes, get your hands off my girl. Ghostface stabs up Billy Loomis. Billy Loomis has blood all over him. She can't believe it. She's lost her virginity to this guy. He's dead now. Maybe it makes her a virgin again. She doesn't know. I'm assuming that's what she was thinking. That's never made clear. But if you lose your virginity to somebody and they get murdered immediately after, technically you might still be a virgin. I don't know what the rules are. So we then find out that as all this is going on, Randy gets stabbed or shot or something. All kinds of stuff happen. Now it's just violence everywhere. And we get to the final crescendo. And Ghostface is after Sidney. The party's cleared out. People are dead all over the place. And Ghostface reveals himself as Billy Loomis. And we're like, what? I saw that guy with blood all over him. And Billy goes, surprise, Sidney. And we see the voice box for the first time. And we're like, oh, shit, he was using a voice box. That's why he sounded like that. And he goes, it's corn syrup. Just like in the movies. And you're like, oh, I forgot this guy loved movies. Of course he knows how to do movie blood. And you find out that Stu, Tatum's boyfriend, he don't give a fucked that Tatum got her head squeezed out in the garage. You know why? He probably did it because he is Billy Loomis's partner in crime. That's how that goddamn phone call got made. That's how they called Sydney at Tatum's house while Billy was locked up, because Stu was making calls too. Why is all this happening? Well, we realize that through, explaining, because that's key in this movie. There's two things that are key in the Scream movies. Number one, nobody makes it through the opening scene, ever. If you see them in the opening scene, they're dead before the credits roll. The opening credits roll, not the closing credits. It goes, introduce characters, kill them, opening credits. Formula for Scream. At the end of the movie, expose the killer. The killer explains his motive. Then, right before he can kill Sydney, he ends up dying on accident or through some other reason. So that's the way, and that's established here in this first movie. Billy explains, not only, Sydney, did you just lose your virginity to the dude who's about to kill you right now, but I killed your mother too. Sydney goes, what? He goes, yup, you were wrong about Cotton Weary. Gail Weathers was right the whole time. I framed Cotton Weary. Sydney goes, why? Why would you do that? And as it turns out, the rumors were true. Sydney's mother was getting around town. Sydney's mother was cheating on her father. Sydney's mother was carrying on an affair with Cotton Weary. They were having some sex. No murders and rapes, just some straight up sex that was agreed to by all parties. But you know what else she was doing? Sex that was agreed to by all parties with Billy's dad. Billy found out that his dad was having an affair with Sydney's mom. The reason he found that out is because Billy's mom found out that his dad was having an affair with Sydney's mom. Family broke up, divorce, split up. Billy blamed Sydney's mom and Sydney for ruining his family. So, Billy killed Maureen Prescott and wore Cotton's jacket to leave the house, and then put the jacket in Cotton's car with the blood on it so it looked like Cotton Weary had done the crime. And now he's going to kill Sydney. And she goes, well, everybody's going to know you did it. And he goes, no, they're not. Because, and then Stu and Billy stab each other. Not that much, though, except Billy, I feel like, stabs Stu a little more than he was supposed to. But that way they have battle damage, too, so they can just be like, no, it wasn't us. Then it's like, well, why is Stu involved? Stu's just involved for the hell of it. Stu's just involved because he's a maniac. And he knows that he's going to get all kinds of good positive attention after all this is gone. So then you go, well, how did they frame what about the phone? And then they pull Sydney's dad out from the basement. Sydney's dad had been kidnapped by them the whole time. Why didn't they kill Sydney's dad? Because they're about to frame that motherfucker. They stole his cell phone. They were using it to make all the calls. Now they put the cell phone back in Sydney's dad's pocket. Then plant the murder weapon on him. They're going to kill him. So it's like, in all the madness, he got killed, but not before, he's going to make Stu and Billy look like the heroes. Stu and Billy got stabbed up, but they killed Sydney's dad, who was the killer the whole time. See? Now, as they're explaining this all, Sydney is starting to gain her bearings, and she is able to notice that not everybody that they thought was dead is dead. Gail wasn't killed. Gail distracts the boys. They turn around. Huh? Sydney gets away. Now the fight's on. The gun starts going from person to person to person. Stu starts chasing Sydney. Stu trips over the couch. Like I said, Ghostface was always clumsy. Sydney tips the TV over, smashes the TV over Stu's head. Eventually, Deputy Dewey comes up. He ain't dead either. And Randy wasn't killed. You know why Randy wasn't killed? He was a virgin. He got stabbed up. Randy got stabbed up earlier, but it didn't kill him because he didn't stab anybody else up with his you-know-what. Those are the rules of the horror movies, he said. I've never been so happy to be a virgin. So Randy's able to provide a distraction. They're able to kill Billy Loomis, and it's a happy ending. We got the survivors are Randy, Sydney, Dewey, Gail Weathers, And Sydney's dad, I believe, does indeed, yes, survive. And that's how we're left at the end of Scream 1, which became an absolute phenomenon. Now, I do want to talk to you about Scream 2. But before we talk about Scream 2, I'd like to thank Steven Singer Jewelers. Yes, you heard that right. Welcome to Sam Roberts Now, Steven Singer Jewelers. I'm so happy you could be here. If you've been listening to me on any form of radio or podcast over the years, you know I've been talking about Steven Singer and the fact that everybody hates Steven Singer Jewelers. And you're probably wondering, why do people hate Steven Singer Jewelers? Why do they keep saying, I hate Steven Singer? Well, they're about to hate him a lot more because now he's a part of Sam Roberts Now. The reason that people hate Steven Singer is because they are other jewelers who simply can't compete. The problem is, Steven Singer has the best Valentine's Day gift ever, and I'm excited to tell you about it. Steven Singer and I, and you, and everybody here at Sam Roberts Now are bringing you the best Valentine's Day gift ever. You listening? This is what I want you to picture. A real, long-stem American Beauty rose, lavishly and deeply dipped in 24-karat pure gold. It lasts forever, and they start at just $59. $59! And you can profess your love to the one that you love the most, the Sidney Prescott in your life. If Randy knew about Steven Singer, Billy Loomis never would have been dating Sidney. It would have been Randy from the beginning. His beautiful Valentine's Day red rose won't wilt or die. It doesn't even need water. This is the number one gift women want. Something unique, something special, something that lasts forever. And they come with your own personalized love note. You could write right there. What's your favorite scary movie? It's not this relationship. This relationship, it's a love story. Baby, just say yes. It comes in Steven's signature gift box, shipped for free, starting at only $59. Go now to IHateStevenSinger.com or visit his showroom at the other corner of 8th and Walnut in Philly to see everything that I'm talking about. These are real roses from a real jeweler for your real love. Steven Singer Jewelers, go now to IHateStevenSinger.com. We love Steven Singer here at Sam Roberts Now. But we also love Super Chats. Let's go to James Malaspino. I'm doing everything in my power to get that Sam Roberts meme I made to catch fire. 2022 is our year. I love that meme. And you know what I say about memes. Memes are the future. Mike D. Killer has the personality of the Breaking Bad twins. Maybe. And JD Straight Shot. Need a sequel to Jason X. Except this time, get ready for this. He's on Mars. Tesla accidentally brings him back through the car they launched. Honestly, I kind of love that idea. I kind of love it. Mike D says, I hate Steven Singer, Neon Light coming. The studio is available for sale. Everything's for sale. Everything's got a price. Let's get on to Scream 2, okay? We know what happened in Scream 1. There's a whole rich history going on with Scream 1. Well, in Scream 2, the phenomenon that is Scream not only hit real life and hit all of us, but has hit Woodsboro. Because Scream was adapted into a movie called Stab. And Stab is having its a special screening at this college town, Windsor. I don't know if they're still in Woodsboro. I don't think they are. I don't think Windsor College is in Woodsboro, but they're going to Windsor. And it's in the town that Windsor is in. They're doing a special screening of the Stab movies. Now, this is only a year removed. This movie came out in 97, so I'm assuming it's not supposed to take place very far into the future. And somehow, only a year after like this real life serial killer tragedy, nobody gives a fuck. And that was kind of the 90s. Nobody cares at all. But like they're literally like giving out Ghostface costumes to everybody that goes to this special screening of the Stab movie. By the way, Tori Spelling plays Sidney Prescott in the Stab movie, and Heather Graham plays the Drew Barrymore character. So we see the Drew Barrymore scene from the first movie acted out by Heather Graham on the big screen at the movie theater in the first scene of Scream 2. It's all very meta. Jada Pinkett Smith and I want to say Omar Epps are the actors and actresses, but it's Maureen Evans and Phil Stevens. And this is important, Maureen Evans and Phil Stevens. They go to the screenings First, Phil Stevens, he goes to take a piss. He hears some people making out in the stall next to him. He puts his ear to the stall. Nobody's making out. It's Ghostface with a knife, and he takes the knife and he stabs it. Stabs him right in the ear. It looks very, very painful, but he kills Phil Stevens. Then he goes into the movie theater with Phil Stevens' jacket on. Very Billy Loomis of him. Puts the jacket on, sits down next to Maureen Evans, and stabs her in her gut in front of everybody. The whole movie theater's happening. He's just stabbing her to death. Stabs her in her gut. She gets out of her seat. He follows her around, stabs her, runs away. She can't believe she just got stabbed to death in front of all these people. She goes up in front of the movie theater screen. She's like, what the fuck is going on? I'm dying here. Everybody's like, huh? They start taking off their ghost face masks. She drops dead, makes a hilarious face, and boom. The opening title is here, Scream 2, The College Years. That's what I would call it anyway. So, now we go to Windsor College, and Sydney is there. Sydney and Randy both went to Windsor. I'm assuming that Randy just followed Sydney there. Randy is like a puppy dog. Randy's still in love with Sydney. Unfortunately, Sydney has a new boyfriend. And it ain't Billy Loomis, but it is an equally good-looking guy. It's Jerry O'Connell. If your girl brings home Jerry O'Connell, you're fucked. What are you going to do? How are you going to compete? Jerry O'Connell, of course, playing Derek. And then we meet the whole new cast of friends. Sydney's new best friend, Haley, and Derek's friend, Mickey Altieri. These are the new kids. And Cece. Cece, I don't exactly know where Cece fits in with the group, but she's played by Sarah Michelle Gellar, TV's Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Of course, Gale Weathers shows up when she finds out this killing has happened, centered around Woodsboro, because she's the authority. And when she does show up, all this media is there. And Gale realizes that while she's there to be the main reporter, what she finds out is that she's part of the story. Because everybody wants to talk to her. There's this annoying new journalist named Debbie Salt, I think her name is. I'm looking for where I wrote it down so I can confirm. But I believe it's Debbie Salt. Debbie Salt shows up, and she wants to talk to Gale. Yeah, there it is. And she's basically doing to Gale what Gale did to Sydney. Gale doesn't recognize that this is the type of shit that she did, and she deserves this. Instead, she's like, get out of my face, Debbie Salt, you piece of garbage. And it's like, bro, you didn't like that when Sydney did that to you. Are you going to change your behavior? Because if you're not going to change your behavior, you better not get mad when Debbie Salt does it to you. But regardless, Gale shows up. She's at the press conference. She's trying to be a mover and shaker and do the whole thing. Dewey shows up to campus. Fuck are you doing here, Dewey? Dewey shows up to campus because he heard about what happened and he wants to protect Sydney. Don't forget, Dewey's sister died. Tatum got her head crushed in a garage. So Dewey's got a loyalty to Sydney now here. Dewey's got, he has that sort of big brother mentality over her. And he's mad at Gale. Gale came out with another book. Gale keeps writing. She came out with another book about the Woodsboro murders. We find out that Gale's book is actually the one that got optioned to make the movie Stab. So she's getting checks, bro. Not only is she making all this money off the Woodsboro murder book, but she sold the rights to the book to Stab, which is going to go on to be a tremendous franchise. I hope she's got money coming in from all of the sequels, because wait till you hear this. This will go on as we go through the sequels of Scream. But Dewey's mad at her because she kind of made him look like a fool in her book. But she points out that he's kind of a fool. And Dewey doesn't want to hear that, but you can tell Dewey can't really be that mad at Gale. And even when Dewey is mad at Gale, Gale thinks it's cute. So they talk about it in film. We go to film class. It's another film discussion, you know. Mickey's talking about good sequels. Randy, the dork, is over there being like, no, sequels are never better, blah, blah, blah. Cece's in the class. It's a whole thing. Sydney and her friend Haley go to a sorority party because they get invited to a sorority party by some of the popular chicks. So they go, there's a big sorority party happening. Cece, Sarah Michelle Gellar, has to stay home at her sorority house because all her girls have left to the party, but somebody's got to stay home. While Cece stays home, she gets killed to death. Ghostface comes and kills Cece. And you realize when you're watching Scream 2 that if there's one lesson to learn from the entire Scream franchise, it's that if you open a door, shut it behind you. Almost every murder happens because people leave a door and they have their back to it and the door stays open. Every person that's ever dressed up as Ghostface has figured this out. If you just get somebody to go outside and open the door, then once their back is turned, you could just go right in. It's ridiculous. If you leave the house and you open the door, shut it behind you. If you let somebody in, don't turn around and talk to them. That's the other thing. Somebody knocks on the door, they open it. Oh, it's their friend. They can come in. Let me turn my back and start talking to you. The door's still open. There's a ghost face out there. Don't leave the door open with your back to it. Every time. Every single time. You can't be too trusting in this day and age. That's all I'm saying. So Cece gets killed. We find out that Cece's name is actually Casey, and we realize, oh, there's a pattern here. First people to get killed in the movie theater, Maureen Evans, a.k.a. Maureen Prescott. Phil Steve, Casey's boyfriend that got killed in the first movie. Whose boyfriend? Casey. Cece's name was Casey. See the pattern that's going on here? He's killing people by their names. They end up dropping that pretty quick. But that's that's the beginning of the pattern. Sydney does get attacked by Ghostface. And Dewey ends up coming in late. We don't see Dewey and Ghostface in the same room at the same time. And then Jerry O'Connell, Derek, goes to chase Ghostface, and we open the door, and Ghostface has run away, and Jerry O'Connell's got a cut on his arm. And Sydney's, she trusts Derek. He's a good guy. Derek is not dark and brooding. He's a nice frat boy. He's like a Vineyard Vines type guy. But still, the fact that he's just got a cut on his arm, he's not dead, and we never saw him and Ghostface in the same room at the same time, Sydney's a little like, I don't know. So we do what we do in every 90s movie. Derek makes a public declaration of his love. He gets up on the table in the middle of the lunchroom, cafeteria, whatever they call it in college, and he starts singing, Hey, I Think I Love You by the Partridge Family. And it wins over Sydney. She's got his trust back. She's not worried about it anymore. She's smiling. She's in love with him. Part of me is going like, look, if there's a serial killer that's after your girlfriend, maybe don't go to a public place and go, hey, everybody, look, that's Sydney Prescott. She's sitting right there. I think that that's a bad idea, but Sydney found the gesture to be romantic, so obviously Derek succeeded in his attempt. Gail's cameraman starts getting real paranoid because he didn't read the book before he joined Gail at the college, but then he read her book. He realized that Gail's cameraman got murdered the last time. Gail, Randy, and Dewey start talking with the cameraman about like, oh, what can we do here? Like, what should we do here? He kills this person, he kills that person. The cameraman is like, I really don't want to hear about all this. I'm going to leave. I'm going to come back when the conversation's better. I don't like these vibes right now. These very negative vibes. I'm looking for positive vibes. So he splits. And while he's gone, Ghostface calls them. Calls up Randy's phone. And they go, let's split up. He's looking at us. He can see us on the quad right now. Let's split up and find him. So Gail and Dewey go over here to find him. Cameraman is gone. Randy starts looking over there. While Randy is looking for him, he gets drugged into Gail's news van, and he gets murdered to death. He did explain the rule about sequels. He explained the rule about sequels there on the quad about how they're different. But right after he explained those rules, our pal Randy from Scream 1 gets killed. And that's when we realize, ooh, even the OG cast is vulnerable here. So he's dead in the van. The cameraman comes back like, the fuck happened to my van? The window's broken and there's blood all over the place. And they're like, well, then you're going to be really mad about the corpse in there. So they're all bummed about the fact that Randy's dead. Cotton Weary shows up. Sydney gets a IM from Ghostface in the library while she's in the library. She's got like a policeman with her. So she's like, look at these IMs. They're like, don't worry about it. It's probably a prank. Which is like, how about just check? Okay, policeman, don't tell me it's probably a prank. You're basing that on total assumption. But Cotton Weary shows up right after the IM, right after the police are searching around the library. You're like, the fuck is Cotton Weary doing here? As we found out, Cotton Weary got acquitted. He was found not guilty because we found out that Billy Loomis did it. Sydney was indeed wrong. And she's like freaked out to see him, but also kind of apologetic, but also really doesn't want to see him because he did have sex with her mom. Like, that's awkward regardless. I know it's like, yes, it's awkward to accuse somebody of murder that didn't do it, and then they get out and they're like, and you're like, But if they still had sex with your mom, it's like, you're going, look, that's my bad, accusing you of murder, like, that's on me, but you did have sex with my mom, and that's going to make it so it's never going to be cool with us. And he goes, I get that. And I get that you don't want to do interviews, but Diane Sawyer wants to talk to us. Do me this solid. Me, you, Diane Sawyer, joint interview, bada bing, bada boom. Sydney's like, I'm not trying to hear that. I'm not trying to be on the news. I don't want to have anything to do with this. He's like, I'm getting real pissed now, Sydney. She's like, you're freaking me out. And then the cops come, separate them. So now we got all these suspects floating all over the place. The hell is Cotton Weary doing back there? Gail and Dewey start sneaking around the AV department of the school, trying to find some evidence, trying to see what they can find. And while they're separated, boom, Dewey gets it. He gets stabbed up. There's blood everywhere. Gail can't believe it. She finds it to be very, very sad. Gail's in, Sydney's in a police car with her police escorts. Boom, the police officers get it. They get killed up by Ghostface. Sydney is stuck in the car with Haley, her best friend. They're locked in the back because you can't open the back of a police car from the back. That's where prisoners go. Ghostface gets in the front. They end up getting him, they got him locked up and everything. The car's still driving. They end up crashing the car. Ghostface is out cold. They're able to sneak out of the car on top of Ghostface. Sydney goes, what if he's not dead? She's like, I don't know. Sydney's like, let me go check. She checks the car. He's not in the car. Haley's like, what do you mean he's not in the car? Ghostface jumps out, kills Haley. Haley is dead. Sydney's like, the fuck, man? That's my second best friend. Gone within a year. That's crazy. You know how hard it is to make a best friend? I made a new one. She's dead too. This is ridiculous. While all this is going on, Sydney, who conveniently was she was in some satanic play. They were practicing for it. I don't know what play it is. I've seen plays before. I've never seen this one. But she's some kind of satanic person with all kinds of people in masks around her. But the play requires a wind machine and a smoke machine and fake flames and fake rocks being thrown and everything. It's all very complicated and, luckily for later, distracting. But it's got all these religious connotations to it. So the stage is all set for it because they're rehearsing there. It's probably going to open, probably next week. So it's not quite dress rehearsal yet, but it's pretty close. So the frat that Derek is in, Jerry O'Connell, her boyfriend, is aware of all this, right? So it's, I guess, pledge week. Derek is getting pledged in. As the fraternity hazing, they put him up on the cross that's on the stage set like Jesus Christ. And they put all kinds of makeup and stuff all over him. And they get him all fucked up. And then they raise the cross. So he's just stuck up there, tied up like Jesus. So whatever, Sydney is now running away. We're starting to get to the climax of this movie. Sydney is now running away from Ghostface. Haley's dead. The cops are dead. Dewey got all stabbed up. He's jacked up. What's his name's dead. Randy's dead. Her friend Randy's dead. He never even got with Sydney. He just loved her from afar and then got killed. It's really a tragic tale. But And Randy pointed out that Gale Weathers might be the culprit here. He said reporters make up stories all the time. That's what happens. I'm like, oh shit, he's right. Gale Weathers might be the culprit. So Sydney shows up, right? She's running. She ends up in the auditorium. That's where people run to. And boom, she finds Derek all tied up. She's like, the fuck are you doing? You're my boyfriend. You're tied up here? This is embarrassing. Ghostface shows up, but without a mask. We find out who it is. That goddamn Mickey. Creepy looking Mickey, who really kind of looks like Billy Loomis. It actually wasn't that much of a shock that Mickey had something to do with it. If anything, it was a shock because it seemed too obvious. But turns out it was Mickey, and he said, and my partner was your boyfriend. Shocker. And Derek's tied up to the thing. He's like, no, it wasn't. And Sydney's like, oh, I'm all fucked up now. Of course it was. It is the boyfriend. Why do I keep doing this to myself? He's like, no, it wasn't. Sydney kind of believes Mickey, but then Mickey shoots and kills Derek. And Sydney realizes, oh, it wasn't Derek at all. And it's like, well, who is your partner then? And Gale Weathers shows up. And it's like, oh, shit, it was Gale Weathers. Nope. Because here comes Debbie Salt right behind her. And Sydney looks at her and she goes, Mrs. Loomis? And everybody goes, whoa! As it turns out, this Debbie Salt, played by Roseanne's best friend from Roseanne, is Billy Loomis's mother. However, she's had some plastic surgery done, she's got a whole new wardrobe, and she's lost about 70 pounds. And I guess she cut her hair short. That's why people didn't recognize her at first. Plus, I guess they're not in Woodsboro anymore. This is all the brainchild. See, I'm over here thinking that Mickey is the new Billy. But Mickey isn't the new Billy. Mickey is the new Stu. Mickey is the crazy sidekick. The new Billy, the one who brained the whole operation, is Billy's mom. Of course. Like Friday the 13th. Mrs. Loomis is the killer. So Mrs. Loomis is like, yep, this is what's going down. And like, she's like, well, how do you expect this to happen? And Mickey's like, haha, we got him. And then Mrs. Loomis kind of pulls a joker and goes, actually, I got him. Mickey's like, what? Billy's mom shoots Mickey. Mickey's dead. And she goes, no. Here's what's going to happen. We're going to frame Mickey, but you're going to be dead. And I'm going to be like, hey, I'm just here to report on it. It's going to be great. And then, like, Gail Weathers, they kill her. They throw her off the stage. And she's like, fuck. And then just as she's about to kill Sydney, Sydney escapes. And luckily, there's all kinds of shit going on the stage. You know, there's like a thunder and there's lights and everything. So Sydney just starts pushing all the buttons, trying to distract Billy Loomis's moms. And eventually, she gets her out of the way. The final distraction, boom, Gail Weathers actually, no, that doesn't happen until a minute later. Sydney ends up killing Mrs. Loomis. She gets a gun. She shoots Billy's mom. Gail Weathers shows up from under the stage. Mickey pops back up. That's the big scare at the end. They shoot Mickey again. Mickey's dead. Then they shoot Debbie Salt, Mrs. Loomis, in the head, just for good measure. Holy shit. Sydney, who now has killed Billy Loomis and Billy Loomis's mom, is now leaving the auditorium. Like, this is crazy. Gail Weathers is with her. And guess who we see? Officer Dewey is leaving on a stretcher, still alive. Officer Dewey is the Randy in this one. He makes it through. And Cotton shows up. Cotton Weary shows up to save Sydney. He shows up just as Sydney is about to get killed. Cotton Weary shows up. And Cotton Weary he's got a gun. And he can either shoot Sydney or he can shoot Mrs. Loomis. And Sydney goes, I'll do Diane Sawyer with you. And Cotton Weary goes, say less. And shoots Billy Loomis's mom. So then on the way out, the press is like, Sydney, you're a hero. Sydney, you're a hero. Can we talk to you? And she goes, talk to my man Cotton Weary over there. That's the hero. And Cotton Weary is like, good looking, Sydney. Good looking. And Sydney gets left alone by the media. And Cotton Weary tells all the media that, yeah, he is a hero. And yeah, he's got a story to tell, but you're going to have to pay for that story. Oh, no, my brother. You got to buy your own. And he starts giving everybody cards. Everybody leaves happy. Boom. Done. Here we go. That's Scream 2. Let me go back to the Super Chats. If you want to contribute to the show tonight, make sure you Super Chat in. Jay Howley203 says, F, Mary, Kill, Nev Campbell, Drew Barrymore, Buffy. That's a tough one. Let me tell you something. Well, I probably have to kill Drew Barrymore, unfortunately. I would not marry Buffy because she's married to Freddie Prinze Jr. She's got a great life, and I would never do that to Freddie Prinze Jr. He's a good man. But, you know, people make mistakes, so I guess I'll F Buffy, and I'll marry Nev Campbell. She gets herself in good shape for Scream 2, man. I mean, like, she's muscular. Like, when she wakes up, she's got her back. She's a very strong back. She looks like somebody that could fight Ghostface. And that's somebody that I need by my side for life. She could fuck someone up, and I believe her, and she's avoided murder twice, and she's killed 2 Lumai. So, yeah, I got to marry Nev Campbell. Shitty Planet Earth says, I can't wait to hear how the play went in part 3. They will. They'll talk about, how'd that satanic play go for you, Sydney? Oh, I'm glad you asked. Mike D says, off topic, but Fidance says he's a Tony Soprano, that he's a Tony Soprano type is funny. I see him as Delaware Artie Bucco, who would get robbed more than Mark Norman does. Probably right. I think Ian is going to find out how very, very Vito he is at some point. So let's get into Scream 3. You're going, where can we go from here? Scream 3 kicks off 3 years later. This thing came out in 2000, and it was advertised as the final act, the last of a trilogy, Scream 3. We open on Cotton Weary. Bad news for Cotton Weary. We open on Cotton Weary, and he gets a call from a lady. He's stuck in L.A. traffic. We find out that Cotton Weary is the host of the most successful show on TV, 100% Cotton. I would like to see some episodes of 100% Cotton. I mean, I'm obsessed with the media that exists in the canon of Scream. Like, I would love to watch the Stab movies, and I would love to see episodes of 100% Cotton. Maybe I just need to move to Woodsboro. That whole world seems amazing to me. But killer calls, it's a lady's voice, and then drifts into the traditional killer's voice. You're going, what's going on here? I'm like, I don't know if I like multiple voices being used by the killer, but killer says, I'm going to kill your girlfriend. I'm in your apartment. Cotton Weary goes, oh, no. Runs home to the apartment, shows up. The killer is in the apartment, but he's been through the door with the mask on, but he's been using a voice changer that also has Cotton Weary's voice on it. This is the thing that I don't like about Scream 3. It's the worst part about Scream 3. Honestly, I think all the Scream movies are great, but I would go 1, 2, 4, 3. That's my ranking of Scream movies. 1, 2, 4, 3. And the reason that Scream 3 is the lowest is because of the voice changer. I can't stand the fact that they have made up this technology where it's just a voice changer that has everybody's voice on it, and you can't hear your own voice even when you're in the same room with a person. Like the other voice changer you could buy at Spencer Gifts. This one is like a miracle of modern technology that still in 2022 we have not yet matched. But regardless, Cotton Weary's voice is on it. So the girlfriend thinks that Cotton is chasing her around with a knife. Cotton shows up. She sees his face. She's like, I don't trust you. You're trying to kill me. Cotton's like, I'm definitely not trying to kill you. She hits him in the head with a golf club. He's like, the fuck did you do that for? Ghostface shows up behind Cotton's girlfriend. Cotton's like, oh my God, I'm laying on the floor because I just got hit with a golf club, but look behind you. She looks behind her. She gets stabbed to death. He gets up like, you just stabbed my girlfriend. Ghostface goes, yeah, but you're super weak because you just got hit in the head with a golf club. Stabs up Cotton Weary. Fuck. Opening Scream 3. Damn it, Cotton Weary's dead. After everything he went through. But you know what? He was a sinner. Vanity. Was a very vain guy. Loved show business. We find out that Cotton Weary was actually supposed to do a cameo in Stab 3. And that is where, and it was basically, I think, supposed to be very similar to the opening of Scream 3. But that is where this whole thing starts. They're filming Stab 3 right now. We never got to see Stab 2. But the assumption is that the events that happened in, that because we saw Stab, the events that happened in Scream 1 happened in the movie Stab. So the assumption is that Stab 2, the events that happened in Scream 2 happened in Stab 2. Because by the time we get to Scream 3, within Scream 3, they're filming Stab 3. So Stab 3 is going to be a fictionalization of what would happen next. It's completely gone away from the Woodsboro murders and is now we're just taking those characters and making an entire cinematic universe with them. However, it looks like they're going to have to shut down Stab 3 because Cotton Weary's dead. They said, how do you know this is related? The detective said, well, he's in a movie called Stab and he got stabbed. Well, that's a good line. Okay, Jay and Silent Bob make a cameo on the set. Lots of cameos in this. Princess Leia makes a cameo later. It's starting to get where Scream might be a little too big. You know what I mean? That's another reason why this isn't as good. Scream is now a phenomenon. It's not just it's not confined to a world. It's a massive thing, and it feels massive in Scream 3. Sid works anonymously, Sidney Prescott, as a crisis hotline worker, and she works way out in the sticks. Nobody knows where she is, and she uses a pseudonym, and she takes, phone calls from people who are in crisis. This creepy detective, Detective Kincaid. I can't stand this guy, Detective Kincaid. I know he's up to something from the very beginning. He makes weird eye contact. He makes weird lines. He has weird lines. He's way too comfortable with these people. We have watched these people go through life over the last 4 years. Detective Kincaid is meeting them for the first time. He's this weird L.A. Hollywood detective because this is all happening in L.A. That's what happened. That's where what happened to Cotton happened to Cotton. He's in L.A. doing his talk show. Stab 3 is obviously being filmed in L.A., Hollywood. Gail Weathers has moved to L.A. She's left Woodsboro and left Dewey behind. Or at least we think so. So the creepy detective finds Gail and says, we need your help. The killer left this behind. And it's an 8x10 of a young Maureen Prescott. The fuck? A young Maureen Prescott. The killer is now leaving clues. And the clue is this whole side of Maureen Prescott that nobody knew. So Stab 3 is shutting down, and Gale Weathers gets there, and we find out that Dewey is not only on the set, he's actually there as a consultant for what happened in Woodsboro. And it appears, I don't know, he's kind of dating the actress played by Parker Posey, but in this movie, she's portraying the actress who's portraying Gale Weathers. And I don't know if he's dating her or he's just like a hanger-oner for her, but he's just around her all the time. That's his whole thing. Jenny McCarthy is in this movie. She's a cast member of Stab 3, but she ends up getting killed while she's on the phone with the director, Roman, who has asked her to join the movie. Or at least we think so, because we also know that somehow this killer had all these voices on his voice machine. So maybe he did the same thing to Roman. I don't know, but the point is Jenny McCarthy is dead. And it's a sad day, because who wants Jenny McCarthy to be dead? We're now trying to figure out what's going on, why this killer is around, and what this Maureen Prescott photo has to do with anything. So, the killer finds Sydney. Even though she was hid away, he finds Sydney camped out, and he calls her up as Maureen Prescott. Somehow he's got the dead Maureen Prescott's voice on his voice machine. It drives me crazy. How is that even possible? Maureen Prescott has now been dead for 5 years, and somehow he's got her voice on this voice machine. But Sydney gets a call from her mother, freaks her out. She ends up coming out of hiding. Detective Kincaid is telling Deputy Dewey in Hollywood, we need to find Sydney Prescott. I don't know. I don't think so. We need to find Sydney Prescott. Well, Sydney finds them. She comes out of hiding. She goes to Hollywood. She goes, I'm back, Jack. Here I am. We find Putty from Seinfeld is the bodyguard of Jennifer, the actress who's playing Gale Weathers, who Deputy Dewey is hanging around. And the cast decides to throw a party. The cast throws a party at Jennifer's house to kind of memorialize what would have been this movie. The cast is all bummed out that after Jenny McCarthy and Cotton Weary got killed, there's no more movie. So they go and they say goodbye. They throw this party. They're ripping things up. Ghostface kills Putty at the party. See, Jennifer has a trailer. That's where Dewey lives. But her bodyguard Putty is in the trailer. Stab, 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 stab. Putty is dead. And then the power goes out, and then the killer, they realize that the killer now, the pattern in the last one, at least in the beginning, was the names. In this one, at least in the beginning, the killer is killing people in the order that they're killed in the script of Stab 3. So it's somebody from the set, unless it was leaked on the internet, which is an inside joke because Scream 2, a lot of the plot points were leaked on the internet. So the killer is there, starts sending faxes, pages of the script to the house. And they're reading it going like, oh no, who's going to happen next? Who's going to happen next? They go, the killer's in the house or somebody dies in the house or whatever. They all run out. And then this one guy, the actor who's playing Dewey, he goes, I got to find out what's going to happen next. He runs back in the house. He gets a page of the script out of the fax machine and it says, the one person that's the person who will survive is the one that smells the gas. And he lights a lighter so he can read the page and he goes, smell the gas. And then this massive gas explosion explodes the whole entire house. And I'm like, the amount of gas that would have to be in that house to explode. I mean, it's blew the whole thing into pieces and we see him blow into pieces too. He's blown up. He's dead. It knocks Gale on her ass. It knocks Dewey on his ass. It knocks the actress playing Gale on her ass. And for some reason, the actress who's playing Sydney, who's creepy, she's a weirdo, she's there. She ends up in an entirely different place than the other three end up. Very, very suspicious. Very, very suspicious. So while they're sitting there trying to unpack all this stuff, Randy's sister shows up. Convenient, I know. Randy died, but his sister shows up. And his sister has a video cassette recording that Randy made. I guess when people were getting killed at the college, he realized he might get killed, but also the killer might come back. So even though I haven't even really given you the rules for the sequel yet, let me give you the rules for the trilogy. So Randy made a tape explaining the rules of the trilogy so we could still have that Randy scene in this one. It was delivered by his sister, who's equally awkward as Randy. But we're like, okay, we got that in now. I don't know if this follows movie rules, but we do have that in now. So Gale Weathers and Jennifer, the actress who plays Gale Weathers, they go to the spot in the studio where they have all the records. And there's this, it's Carrie Fisher. She's there working, and they say, you look like Princess Leia. And she goes, yeah, but I didn't fuck George Lucas, so somebody who looks just like me got to play Princess Leia. And I'm going like, that's a weird thing to say in a movie about Hollywood that came out in 2000, but okay. And whatever. They give her a $2,000 ring, and she goes, okay. She goes, you know anything about this person? This is Maureen Prescott, but you might know her as Maureen Roberts. Hello, Sam Roberts. Maureen Roberts, that's her maiden name. And she goes, nope, not Maureen Roberts either. Maureen Prescott used to be known as Maureen Roberts, but before that, in Hollywood, she was known as Rena Reynolds, and she acted in like 3 B horror movies. And it's like, oh, we're starting to unpack it. And the 3 B horror movies were made by the same executive producer who was making Stab 3. Let's go to his office. So they go to his office, and he's in the office with Roman, the director of Stab 3. He was like, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? I'm so pissed off about the whole thing. And then he goes, it'll probably be good. It'll add some mystique. And Roman goes, you think it'll get me more work? And then they break into the office. They go, hey, we're here to ask you questions. Who was Rena Reynolds? And the producer goes, Roman, you better step out of this. He's very old Hollywood. And he basically says that Rena Reynolds came to Hollywood with a dream, but that she ended up leaving Hollywood after she was at this party in the he's like, it was the 70s. It was a different time. And basically, it's she was sexually taken advantage of, which might, I think in the writing, the idea is that it might lend some sort of clarity as to why Maureen Prescott would be cheating on Sidney Prescott's dad so much. But realistically, he was basically saying that this poor girl came to Hollywood to live her dream and got invited to this party at this big producer's house and just got passed around. And you're going, wait. 3 or 4 years ago, when Me Too first really became a thing, everybody was acting like this was a new thing. Hollywood only started acting like this was a thing after it became a big news story, after Harvey Weinstein got caught. Watch Scream 3. In 2000, they're telling us, Me Too has been going on since the 70s, guys. This is happening. I'm like, holy shit, they told us. Scream 3 told us. Talk about meta. They were giving us the secrets of Hollywood. But I digress. So we realized that's what happened. So what does that have to do with what's going on here? That night, Roman is throwing a birthday party at his house. I don't know why people are obsessed with throwing parties when all their friends are getting killed by killers. I would stay home. I would buy a gun and stay home. They've decided not to. They've decided to go to parties. So they go, they go to Roman's house. They throw this party. Ghostface shows up. Roman is found dead. The actress that plays Gale Weathers is killed. It's a mess. Eventually, the actress that plays Sydney is killed. It's disgusting. Sid goes to Roman's house after she gets a call from the killer, and she hears Gale and Dewey in the background. And she's like, it could be the voice changer again, but it sounds kind of real. Let me go to Roman's house. She gets to Roman's house. The killer makes her go through a metal detector, makes her use a metal detector, take the gun off her, the whole thing. She goes in, whatever. She ends up finding Ghostface. They get into a fight. Ghostface takes his mask off. It's Roman, the director of the movie. And he takes off his bulletproof vest, and you realize he was just pretending to be dead the whole time. He wasn't dead at all. And you're like, why, Roman, did you do this? And Roman explains, hey, Sydney, I'm your brother. What? What? Yes, Roman is Sydney's half brother. Rena Reynolds got pregnant when she was in Hollywood. That's why she left. And she had this baby that she never claimed. She gave birth to it, put it up for adoption, whatever, got rid of it. So Roman goes on this search for his birth mom, finds her. Maureen Prescott is what she's known as now. Shows up at her door. Mama! Maureen Prescott goes, you can get the fuck out of here right now. You are Rena Reynolds, baby, and I have left that life behind, and therefore I have left you behind. Goodbye. I don't want anything to do with you. He freaks out. He's pissed. So what does he start doing? He starts filming her everywhere. He's got footage of her not only with Cotton Weary, but footage of her with Billy's dad. He confesses to Sydney, we never knew this before, but he confesses to Sydney that he's actually the one that told Billy about Sydney's mom. He told her that was going on, which doesn't fully make sense because Billy said he found out through the affair because his mom found out because his mom left it, but whatever, and said, this is who it was. This is what happened. That's Sydney's mom. That's your dad. They're leaving a seedy motel together, and you should kill Sydney. And he goes, you think so? And he goes, and Roman goes, yeah, and here's how you should do it. And she goes, that's why it was just like a movie the whole time. He goes, because I'm a director. And we're like, holy shit, I guess that makes sense. It really, I mean, that's another thing. It does feel like you're going back and rewriting history. It doesn't feel like, oh, this was always intended to be a trilogy. It feels like, I guess, maybe. But then he goes, and then now I'm going to kill you. And she's like, that's fucked. He goes, I know, but I'm going to do it for sure. He's planning on framing Sydney because he goes, what he didn't realize was you would become the hero. He got very jealous of Sydney. First, he was jealous of Sydney because of the love he got from his mom, Maureen Prescott. Then he got jealous of Sydney because after Maureen died, Sydney became this hero twice. And he goes, fuck that. That's over. He goes, I'm going to frame you. And I'm going to say that it was all because of what this guy did to your mom. And he pulls out the producer that told her the whole story, kills the producer. He's like, I'm going to survive this thing, and I'm going to be the hero. And she's like, oh, yeah? Not so fast. And whatever. They get into a fight. Sid, Detective Kincaid shows up, of course, because Detective Kincaid is this weird stalker guy. Dewey and Gale end up not being dead. And Sid ends up killing Roman. Roman ends up dying. Sid gets to be the hero again, and the murders are over. They all started with Roman. Roman was the root cause of all this. So once Roman is dead, we don't have to worry about anything anymore. Wherever Sydney's secret location is, it's not so secret anymore. Because at the end, it's Gale and Dewey together. It's Sydney and Detective Kincaid together, this guy's a creep. And at the end of the movie, she ends up leaving the door open. She's not worried about a goddamn thing anymore. God bless, Sydney. God bless. Until we fast forward 11 years into the future, and here comes Scream 4. If you're watching and you want to contribute, you have to only Super Chat. Super Chat is the way every contribution is going to get made, except I see you, Patrick Bateman. Sam's script for the evening. Sam's script for the evening, among other things. I don't know what you're talking about. Steinhardt says, I hear Angelina helped Roman kill everyone in Scream 3. Well, that's never made clear. Angelina is that's a theory. Angelina is the actress who plays Sydney. But I don't think that that's ever, and she's so weird and creepy. At one point, she's like trying to take home Ghostface paraphernalia. But because like Roman has the super computerized voice changer, technically he could have done it all himself. So, you know. Does Scream 3 have 2 killers? It says Scream 3 had 2 killers, Steinhardt says. Oh, I hear Angelina. It's the same guy. I hear Angelina. I don't know. Maybe fanfic. I don't think that happened, though. Super chat. Jay Howley says, Scream series or Halloween series, there can be only one. Well, the Scream series is hits throughout. Every movie in the Scream series is at least very good, if not excellent. Halloween has excellent movies and has dog shit movies. So the average There's a lot more Halloween movies, though. You could probably find 4 really good Halloween movies, but because there's so much shit piled in there, you got to go with Scream if you're going to watch an entire thing. Jay Howley says, you read about the Gainesville Ripper, it inspired Scream. I was just reading about it last night, as a matter of fact. I was just looking into it last night. Justin Manny, anyone else think Sid's boyfriend in the first one was played by Johnny Depp for like 25 years until a few weeks ago? Skeet Ulrich really does resemble a young Johnny Depp. But we go to Scream 4. Scream 4. The opening of this movie is fun. It's a whole bunch of celebrity cameos right in the opening. Not Corn Pop says, come on, man. Scream 4, the opening is a fake out because we think we're watching an opening. But after the first death, it pans out, and we realize it's the opening to Stab 6. And it's 2 other people watching the TV, and it's celebrities every time. And then the murder happens again, and it pans out, and it's Stab 7. And you're like, oh, okay. So we've now got 7 different Stab movies, and whatever. Ghostface comes in. He kills the people watching the TV for the 3rd time, and we find out it is actually Scream 4. Now, we're back in Woodsboro for Scream 4, and the kids do not care about these Scream movies. I guess it's been long enough. I guess a generation has passed, and we've reached the probably the 15th anniversary of the Woodsboro killings, and Dewey is now the sheriff. Now Sheriff Dewey, and Deputy Judy. His deputy's name is Judy, and Judy has the hots for him. Judy is a weirdo who's got a crush on Dewey. But a bunch of kids put like Ghostface masks all over the light posts in Woodsboro. They got to take them all down. They're like, the fuck is this? Sydney has gone so far outside of trying to remain private that she has actually put a book out. And she is coming back to Woodsboro with her publicist to do a book signing. And it's, I guess it's a self-help book, but it is odd that all of a sudden now she's ready to capitalize on these experiences. But if anybody deserves to capitalize on it, it's her. She has a cousin that lives in Woodsboro with her aunt. I guess we never knew she had an aunt there, I don't think. But her aunt lives there now. And her Aunt Kate and her cousin Jill. But they're on her mom's side, Maureen's side, because their last name is Roberts. We find out that Jill doesn't really know Sydney very well, never really got to know her at all. But Jill hangs out with her ex-boyfriend Trevor, who cheated on her, and then also Charlie, who has a crush on Jill. No, Charlie has a crush on, I wrote down all the names because there's so many characters. Okay. Jill, see if you can follow me on this, used to date Trevor, but Trevor cheated on her. Her best friend is Kirby, and the two of them hang out with Robbie. Robbie is this, like, weirdo IRL streamer who's got this little camera on his head that likes to stream everything. And Charlie, who's got a crush on Kirby. You follow me on this? These are the new characters. These are the new kids. As Sydney is in Woodsboro, and Dewey is the sheriff there, and Gail is back. Gail is there too. The 3 of them, the 3 OGs, are back. Now, not only does this killing happen, and Deputy Dewey knows what's going on. He doesn't want to say, but he knows what's going on. Cousin Jill Roberts gets a call. Okay, the school starts to realize something's going on, even though they're all celebrating the anniversary. They're not taking it very seriously. And they also are all obsessed with the movies. There's been 7 Stab movies. They love the Stab movies because it's about their hometown and maybe some people that they know. But Jill gets a call while she's in the car with her friends, Olivia and Kirby. And she's like, oh, this is pretty fucked up. Rebecca, Sydney's publicist, is trying to get deals done, but Sydney's getting kind of freaked out because Dewey tells her something's up, and they open the trunk of her car, and there's a bloody knife and a phone and a Scream mask in the trunk, or a Ghostface mask, I guess, in the trunk of Sydney's car. And they go, okay, Sydney, You're kind of a suspect the same way everybody is. You now can't leave Woodsboro. And it's like, fuck. So now Sydney is stuck in Woodsboro. Ghostface calls Kirby. Judy starts looking. Deputy Judy is now in the Deputy Dewey role. She's looking over all the kids and everything, especially after Ghostface called them earlier. But Judy splits. Kirby is hanging out with Jill, cousin Jill Roberts, and Olivia lives in the house next door. Sydney is staying with Jill, okay? So Kate, Jill, Aunt Kate, cousin Jill, friend Kirby, and Sydney Prescott are all in one house, and Olivia is in the house next door. You can see it through the window. Ghostface calls Kirby while she's in the room with Jill and goes, I'm watching you right now. I know exactly what you're doing. You're watching Shaun of the Dead. She's like, get the fuck out of here. No way. But he wasn't actually in the room with them. He was in the room with Olivia because they look through their window, stabs Olivia to death, kills Olivia. They're like, what the hell is going on here? This is terrible. Sydney realizes that, or Judy tells Sydney at one point that she went to school with her. Sydney doesn't remember her. Judy's got a weird vibe. She's flirting with Dewey. Gail doesn't like that at all because that's Gail and Dewey are married now. And they're kind of estranged, like they have a weird vibe between the two of them. But Gail is like a writer. She writes like fiction novels now. She's kind of out of the sort of tabloid stuff. But Judy is moving in on her man for sure. And Dewey's been doing the right thing. Like he's trying to be polite about it, but Gail doesn't like her. And then she kind of tries to make friends with Sydney. And Sydney's like, I don't know who you are. You're very weird, and you're weirding me out now. Sydney ends up firing her publicist because her publicist is like, oh, this is great. We're going to get you off the hook. You're not going to be a suspect anymore because the killing happened at Olivia's house, and you were in your house. So I got you on The View. I got you on the Today Show. I got you another book deal. Actually, I feel like all good things. She was a great publicist, but I guess Sydney thought it was in poor taste. So she fires the publicist. The publicist is like, that's bullshit. And while she's looking for her car in the parking lot, Ghostface kills the publicist. So it's all bad news for the publicist. Just nothing really ended her life on a down note. For some reason, Sydney ends up going to the kids' after-school film club. And this is where they have the speech about remakes. You know, they don't have Randy anymore, but the Charlie and Robbie, the kid who has the crush on Kirby and the kid who likes to IRL stream everything, are talking about the fact that now everything's out the window. It's remakes. Anything can happen. And because we're living in a new era, everything should be on video, blah, blah, blah. Sydney's like, you guys are so weird that you keep talking about this like it's a movie. It's happening in my life. And that's when she finds out that there is a party going on. It's the Stabathon. They're going to all get together and watch a stab marathon in a secret location. And they do it every year, and they really like to do it. So they go and do it. They have the Stabathon. Little Easter egg is thrown in there. We find out that Robert Rodriguez is the director of Stab 1. We didn't find that out, I don't think, until this movie. Gail does sneak in there because she's very, very sneaky like that. She ends up getting stabbed in the shoulder. She doesn't get killed, but she gets stabbed in the shoulder. Everything's going nuts. They got to break up. They find out the murderer's there. They got to break up Stabathon. So Robbie and Charlie and all the kids go back to the Kirby's house. Whew. And then Sydney finds out this is all going on. She's like, we got to get Jill out of there, Kate. And Jill's like, yeah. Kate's like, yeah, we do got to get Jill out of there. So they're like, okay, we're going to go do that. Then Ghostface shows up. Tries to kill Sydney. Sydney shuts the door on him. Kate, I don't know who Gail is. Kate puts her back up against the door to slam it shut, but she puts it right up where the mail slot is. Ghostface killer slides the knife in through the mail slot, kills Kate. Kate, her aunt is dead. It's another Prescott dead. The whole theme of this movie is they keep talking about how everyone that's around Sydney ends up getting murked. Sydney just carries death with her. Everyone around Sydney ends up getting dead. And Sydney goes to the kids' party. We are left with the original group of kids, right? We are left with Charlie and with Robbie and with Trevor and with Kirby and with Jill. So they go out there. Sydney shows up. Robbie, the IRL streamer, weirdo kid, thought he might be the killer, not the killer, ends up getting stabbed to death. He's dead. They start to think it's Charlie. They're like, okay, it's clearly Charlie. He was outside. This is weird. They don't let him in the house. Ghostface shows up, grabs Charlie, ties him up, duct tapes him to the chair the same way they did to Steve, Drew Barrymore's boyfriend in the very first Scream movie. He's duct taped to the chair. Kirby goes out and he's like, Charlie, oh, he always had a crush on me. We were just about to, become boyfriend, girlfriend. Let me go save Charlie's life real quick. She gets out there. She untapes Charlie. Charlie stabs her to death. What the fuck? It was Charlie the whole time? How? There was a ghost face out there with him. We find out that it's Jill. Jill and Charlie together reveal themselves, and they plan on framing Trevor. Why are you doing this? Why are you doing all this? And then Charlie goes, bro, we're going to do it together, and we're going to frame Trevor. And then Jill goes, you didn't see Stab 2? He's like, what? He's like, I'm going to do it. Kills Charlie. Charlie's dead. Deaded. Jill is the only survivor left. She's like, I'm gonna frame Trevor here. We're gonna kill Trevor, but we're gonna say that you killed Trevor, but first he got some stabs in on me. Right? Same thing. We've seen this before. This is the same motive as before. So she's getting ready to kill Sydney. Turns on Charlie. Stabs Sydney in the gut. She goes, you had to know this was coming. It's like, holy fuck. They kill Sydney at the end of this Scream 4 movie. She stabs herself in the shoulder. Next scene, hospital. End of the movie. Dewey's there. Hey, you're a strong kid. Good job. And she's like, hey, I just wanted to be a hero. And that's what we find out the motive was the whole time. She just wanted to be famous. She wanted to be a hero. She wanted to set herself up for the glory. And that's exactly what she did. Set herself up for the glory. She's going to be the new Sydney. She's going to get to write the books, do the TV shows. Same way Cotton Weary wanted that glory. Same way Roman wanted to take that glory from Sydney. Now this cousin of hers. These Prescotts love taking Sydney's glory. Love it. What a bunch of weirdos. It's all the Roberts side of the Prescotts, too. Maybe it's built into the Roberts DNA. So then she goes, I'm just sad that Sydney isn't around to see it. And then Dewey goes, well, good news. Sydney is in the ICU. She might just make it. And Jill's like, oh, shit. Oh, fuck. So Dewey goes and visits Gail. And Gail's like, how's Jill doing? And Dewey's like, she's doing all right. She said, you and her can be buddies now. You got the same injury. Gail's like, she got stabbed in the shoulder too, huh? He's like, yeah. Then Gail's like, how did Jill know I got stabbed in the shoulder? And then Dewey's like, oh, shit, because she's the one that stabbed you. Dewey goes running. He finds Jill in the room with Sydney. She's about to kill Sydney. Breaks it up. Boom, boom, boom. Fight, fight, fight. Tension, tension, tension. Sydney gets the clear. Zaps Jill in the head. Kills Jill. Sydney survives. And with that, Scream 4 is done with the OG 3 still intact. You would think they would hand it over to a new generation, but no. David Arquette, Nev Campbell, Courtney Cox, still on top. And that's where we leave it for Scream 5. This Sydney Prescott had her family destroyed because her mom was cheating on her dad. Then her mom got murdered because she was breaking up families. Then Sydney's boyfriend tried to kill Sydney. Sydney had to kill her boyfriend. Then Sydney's boyfriend's mom tried to kill her. Sydney had to kill her boyfriend's mom. Then Sydney's half-brother she never knew about tried to kill her. She had to kill her half-brother. Then she had to kill her cousin on her mom's side. Maureen Prescott may be the most toxic person in the history of cinematography. Maureen Prescott ruined Sydney's life for years, for decades now. And I can only imagine Scream 5 comes out 1 week from today. Scream 5 comes out. It'll be the 25th anniversary of Scream. Maureen Prescott has spent 25 years, 26 years technically, because she died a year before the first one. 26 years from beyond the grave, ruining Sidney Prescott's life. It's insane. All we know for sure, we've seen this poster that the Scream 5 people have put out. It says the killer is on this poster, exclusively in theaters. I can't wait, man. 2 movies I want to see in theaters, Licorice Pizza and Scream 5. Now, I don't know a lot of people on this poster, but Sidney's on it, Dewey's on it, Gale Weathers is on it. And if you look real closely, that's that's Deputy Judy right there. Deputy Judy making the big comeback for Scream 5. Beyond that, I don't know. Well, apparently we're going back to Woodsboro because that's a Woodsboro street sign. But now you know that toxic Prescott blood that somehow Sidney has managed to avoid for all these years. It really is unbelievable when you think about it. I hope if you want to get any super chats in before we go, get them in. I feel like we've done what we needed to do here today. I feel like I've brought you on board. I feel like now you are ready to see this 5th version of Scream. And maybe 10 years from now, when Scream 6 comes out, we'll do this all over again, except with a 5th movie in place. I can't wait to see it. One of the greatest horror franchises of all time. I appreciate you. You're wonderful people. Don't forget to hit the like button. I see you in there. Many of you have not hit the like button. Please do hit the like button. You got 5 styluses. JD Straight says, why don't they just kill Nev first? First of all, her name is Sidney Prescott. And second of all, she's really good at avoiding being killed. At this point, she's established that. I'll tell you this. The only move to make in Scream 5 is that one of the original 3 have to be in that opening scene. Because the opening scene, it's like you've done everything else. You've done the person we thought was going to be in the movie. You've done the famous person. You've done the recurring character, Cotton Weary. It would be a cop-out, I feel like, to put Deputy Judy in the first scene. I feel like if you really want to do it, put one of those OG 3 or have somebody come back. But somebody from the original movie has to get popped in that first scene. That's all I want to see in Scream 5. I can't wait to see it. I'm so glad that you sat here with us for this whole time. What a review. Most Scream movies are shorter than this review, but I had a lot to say. You got 5 styluses. You might as well use them. And don't forget, I'm going to cheers with you later. Thanks, everybody. Subscribe to the channel. We'll be back on Wednesday. Have a good one.